Have you ever felt like you're living on autopilot? Even when you're doing everything right, you look in the mirror and realize that while everything seems fine on the outside, inside, it's a mess. Your mind won't stop. Thoughts are all over the place. Pressure never takes a break, and yet you keep trying to hold it all together. You know what's wild? Most people don't even realize they're trapped in this mental chaos because it became their normal. What no one tells you is, the problem isn't how much you do, it's how your mind reacts to everything. It's like you're running with 20 browser tabs open and none of them are useful. Anxiety isn't the villain, it's a symptom of a mind without direction. And that's when something ancient, almost forgotten, found its way into my life as a whisper of wisdom. Stoicism. I didn't chase this philosophy. It found me. And the strangest part is, I didn't even realize when things started to change. The pressure was still there, life was still happening, but inside a quiet sense of clarity began to grow. And that's exactly what I want to share with you today. Because maybe, just maybe, you're stuck in the same noise and don't even know it yet. If this video resonates with you, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and give it a like. Share this with someone who's also searching for inner peace. Today, we're going to clean up the one place that matters most, your mind. We live in a time where being tired has become a sign of productivity. The mind wakes up already in turbulence. Messages, tasks, unreachable goals, and the invisible weight of trying to handle everything at once. The strangest part? Most people don't even realize this is a form of mental chaos disguised as normal life. Confusion became routine, and anxiety, the new normal. But there is a way out of this without disappearing from the world. Little by little, this silent overload drains your vital energy. People get used to living on autopilot, jumping from notification to notification as if each phone buzz were an emergency. And before they know it, they've become prisoners of other people's expectations, and worse, of their own self-criticism. It's an invisible prison that many don't even know they're locked inside. That's when it becomes urgent to reclaim your mind. A classic example, someone wakes up in a hurry, drinks coffee while answering emails, rushes through the day trying to be productive, and ends the night feeling useless. Why? Because they confused activity with direction. This is the kind of confusion Marcus Aurelius would call movement without purpose. We're always busy, yet rarely present. And that's the real danger, chasing everything and finding nothing. Stoicism enters this scene like a quiet light in the fog. It doesn't show up with noise or empty promises, but with simple questions that dismantle illusions. Is this under my control? Is this emotion useful right now? What truly matters at this moment? It's as if an ancient wise man whispers in your ear amidst the world's shouting, and that whisper, when heard, changes everything. Many believe they need to change cities, quit their jobs, or escape life to find inner peace. But the truth is, the chaos isn't out there. It's in how we relate to what's out there. The mind doesn't need a new environment. It needs a new operating system. And that Stoic software begins with a cleanup, reducing mental noise, simplifying what matters, and learning how to focus again. That's where the real journey begins. When someone sees themselves in this portrait of silent chaos and recognizes they've been at war with their own mind, something shifts, perception opens. The person isn't broken, they were just misaligned. And when Stoicism shows up, it doesn't always come through a book or a video. Sometimes it appears as a breakdown or a moment of deep silence. And that's what the next part is about. He was in the car, stuck in traffic, staring straight ahead, but seeing nothing. His body was there, but his mind was scattered in 1,000 places. Heart racing, shallow breathing, and a single question echoing. How did I end up like this? There were no screams, no visible collapse, just a heavy silence, like the soul had pulled the emergency brake. And for the first time in years, he couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. This kind of freeze doesn't give a warning, it just arrives. And the scariest part, no one on the outside notices. It looks like just another regular day, just another face in the crowd. But inside it feels like the mind is crying for help, exhausted from carrying too much, trying to control everything, demanding constant perfection. That forced pause, unintentionally, became his biggest chance for change. Many push themselves to the limit without realizing it. Sleepless nights, constant irritability, guilt for resting, until something breaks. It could be a panic attack, a burst of rage, or silent crying in the shower. It's the body saying, "I can't do this anymore." Seneca used to say the soul becomes ill when we ignore its cries, and it was in that disguised breakdown that Stoic philosophy began to whisper. Right in the middle of that mental mess, he stumbled across an old video quoting Epictetus. "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgment about them." It didn't feel like a solution at first, but it hit different. For the first time, he asked himself, what if the problem isn't the world, but how I see the world? And in that moment, the fog began to clear. Stoicism didn't crash into his life with bold promises. It slipped in gently. No, change your life in 3 days. No fake positivity. Just a quiet wisdom designed precisely for moments like that. It felt like reconnecting with something ancient and true. Something that had always been there, just buried under the noise. He didn't need to believe in it. Just needed to try listening. This awakening wasn't explosive, it was subtle, but real. He began to see there was another path, calmer, clearer, lighter, and that path began with one honest, liberating question: what is really under my control? That was the very first step toward silence, but it was only the beginning, because what came next would truly shift everything. It was when he heard that phrase that everything began to make sense. Some things are up to us, others are not. It sounds simple, almost obvious, but at that moment, it felt like hearing a long-lost truth. His overwhelmed mind took a step back. For the first time, he started to separate what truly deserved his attention from what was just draining his energy. Before that, everything felt like his responsibility. People's reactions, the day's mood, others' opinions, traffic, the future, the past, all of it weighed on his shoulders. Then came the first release, realizing he didn't need to control it all. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Peace begins when we stop resisting what we can't change," and that mental filter began to quiet the storm. He started small. When someone interrupted him, he paused and asked, "Is this under my control?" When an unexpected situation came up, he asked the same thing. Instead of reacting impulsively, he stopped. That strategic pause, taught by Epictetus, became a kind of mental shield, and slowly the outside chaos started to make less noise inside him. That's when he understood, the chaos doesn't disappear because the world changes. It fades when we change our focus. What once triggered hours of overthinking, a criticism or a mistake, was now seen differently, not as a sentence, but as a training ground for mastering the mind. It didn't make him cold, but sharper. He began journaling daily. Each night, he'd write about situations beyond his control and how he responded to them. It was like an emotional training log. Inspired by Seneca's teachings, this habit helped him build self-discipline and mental strength. Instead of running from challenges, he grew stronger through them. Each obstacle became a chance to sharpen awareness. That's when everything began to go quiet. His once overactive mind found balance. And not because life got easier, but because he stopped wasting energy on things he couldn't change. That clarity made space for something he never thought possible, the ability to reorganize his mind, even before organizing the world outside. And that's exactly where the next step begins. When the mind stopped fighting the world, everything changed. Without any heroic effort, he started seeing what really mattered. It was like a fine dust being blown from his eyes. What used to seem urgent was now just noise. What was invisible before now stood out. And life started getting organized not through to-do lists, but through inner clarity. He stopped trying to do 10 things at once. He created a simple but intentional routine. Wake up without rushing, drink coffee in silence, write down 3 priorities for the day. Just that was enough to untangle the mess he'd carried for years. The secret? It wasn't about doing more. It was about doing better. With focus, with presence, that's philosophy of life in action. The Stoic influence didn't stop at his habits. It showed up in the way he replied to messages. Before, he felt obligated to respond instantly, afraid of seeming inattentive. Later, he realized this behavior was driven by ego, not reason. He remembered what Seneca said, "Those who are always rushing are always late inside." So he chose to live on his own time. His wardrobe became simpler, his schedule more selective, his conversations more intentional. He learned to say no without guilt, and to direct his energy where it truly mattered. This external organization was a reflection of a sharper inner filter, focus on the essential. Instead of trying to control everything, he became better at choosing what was actually worth managing. As mental noise faded, the outer world aligned itself. Strangely, he didn't even notice the shift at first. People started saying, "Well, you seem lighter," or "You're more centered." It wasn't about how he looked, it was how he showed up. What started as ancient philosophy became daily practice. His mind led, and everything else followed. That's when he understood. Before trying to fix the world, he had to clean up his mental backyard. That clarity became his quiet standard. But something even deeper was coming. Because once you stop trying to control everything, something unexpected begins to unfold. An active, liberating peace starts to take its place. And that's what comes next. It was liberating to realize he no longer had to carry the world on his back. He stopped trying to predict the future, fix the past, or manage other people's emotions. It felt like taking off a backpack full of stones he didn't even know he was wearing. When he let go of control, he gained something he never expected: lightness. Not passivity, but practical wisdom. This new posture began to show in his relationships. Someone disagreed with him. That was fine. Before, it would have turned into an argument, explanations, exhaustion. Now he listened, took a breath, and let it pass. Epictetus taught, "It's not the insult that hurts you, but your decision to be offended." He learned that the power of perception was stronger than the power of reaction, and that brought peace. He also stopped being a prisoner of anxiety. What will happen tomorrow? He didn't know, but he knew what he could do today. That present focus became a daily practice. Anxiety, which once paralyzed him, now turned into fuel for conscious action. He didn't ignore the future. He just stopped trying to tame it. After all, not even Marcus Aurelius could. Why should he? He practiced a simple Stoic technique, negative visualization. He imagined the worst-case scenario and accepted it. Once he accepted it, fear lost its grip. That didn't make him pessimistic. It made him realistic. And here's the strange part. When he embraced the worst, he gave more room for the best to happen. That's emotional control at its purest. Not denial phone, but clarity. But the biggest gain wasn't external, it was internal. He started having more compassion for himself. He saw that trying to control everything was just disguised self-pressure. Now, he accepted his limits, his mistakes, his off days. And in doing so, he also started accepting others more easily. That's the beginning of true inner peace, when the ego stops yelling and the heart starts listening. This new emotional freedom didn't arrive with a bang, but with a sigh. A quiet but powerful finally. He no longer needed to prove anything, not to others, not to himself. And in that serene space, something unexpected began to grow inside him. A silent wisdom, an inner compass guiding each choice. But that was only beginning to reveal itself. Without even realizing it, he began to act differently. Not because he memorized Stoic quotes or wanted to look wise, but because his once agitated mind now filtered everything with more clarity. Before reacting, he thought. Before responding, he breathed. Before deciding, he asked, "Is this under my control? Is this aligned with my values?" Stoic philosophy had become his compass. It felt like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus had turned into invisible advisors. When opening his phone and seeing a rude message, he no longer reacted with anger, just awareness. When facing criticism, he sorted out what was truth and what was noise. That emotional intelligence protected him from impulsive decisions and kept the ego in its place. His decisions stopped being driven by urgency, fear, or vanity. They came from a steadier place. He stopped accepting invitations out of guilt or saying yes to everything to please others. Seneca once said, "If you don't know which port you're heading to, no wind is favorable." Now he knew. His internal compass was calibrated. He was guided by ancient wisdom, not confusion. And this showed in simple things too. He became more mindful about what he ate, who he talked to, and what he watched. He unfollowed accounts that triggered comparison and self-doubt. He started consuming content that nourished the mind, not the ego. What once seemed extreme or boring now felt natural. It was him taking care of his mental health with discipline. This new way of living was so quiet, no one noticed at first, but those around him felt it. His voice was calmer, his gaze firmer, his actions more consistent. He hadn't become a saint, just someone constantly training resilience, and that inspired those nearby. Stoic philosophy was now his way of living. The most curious part? He never announced it to anyone. He didn't post quotes or give speeches, But every pause, every gesture, every response was proof of the transformation happening within. His mind was in order, his soul at peace. And one day, without any big moment, he realized something that had haunted him for years was gone. The old mental chaos. There were no fireworks, no background music, just a regular morning when he woke up. Different. He got out of bed, looked at the sky through the window and noticed a quietness inside. Same job, same challenges, same bills, but his mind, calm. That mental confusion that used to greet him every morning simply wasn't there anymore. It was like noticing a pain that had been with you for years was suddenly gone, and you can't remember when it left. He couldn't pinpoint the exact day everything changed. He just knew that somehow breathing had become lighter, thinking was clearer, living simpler. And that simplicity was the biggest proof that something deep had shifted within him. It wasn't due to a miracle technique or a dramatic transformation. It was the sum of small gestures, quiet choices, daily shifts guided by Stoic wisdom. He stopped overreacting. He accepted what he couldn't control. He trained his mind like someone watering a plant, consistently, patiently. And one day, without realizing it, peace bloomed. Today, he no longer needs to remind himself to take deep breaths. They come naturally. He doesn't need mantras. The silence within has become his new default. That's the beauty of true personal development. It doesn't shout, it doesn't show off, but it transforms. As the Stoics said, virtue needs no applause. It shines in secret. From the outside, people may not even notice. But from within, he knew. The mental chaos that once felt like part of his identity was now just a distant memory, and it hadn't left by chance. It was the result of daily choices, of a new way of thinking, a way of seeing the world that didn't depend on the world, but on mastering the mind. And the most beautiful part is, this quiet transformation is available to anyone, to you, without drama, without pressure, without magic formulas. All it takes is one step, to observe yourself, because one day when you least expect it, the chaos will be gone, and in its place, a new presence will rise. But this story must be told from the very beginning. Now that you've seen all of this, tell me, how long has it been since your mind truly felt light? How many decisions have you made on autopilot, without stopping to ask if they're really yours, or just reactions to outside noise? The truth is, no one teaches us how to organize our inner world, but without that, nothing outside will make sense for long. Stoicism isn't some philosophy to decorate a bookshelf. It's a silent map for those who want peace without running away. It doesn't ask for blind faith or false promises. It just asks for presence, responsibility, and practice. And if you've made it this far, you've already taken the first step, realizing the problem was never the world, but how you relate to it. So now I ask you, what will you stop trying to control starting today? What thought needs to be observed with more clarity? What small action could bring your mind back into your hands? Because if you don't apply what you've learned, you'll keep going in circles, maybe. But if you do, it might just change everything. Drop a comment below and tell me what part hit you the hardest, and what you're going to put into practice. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who needs a mental reset today.